So, Triss, you and I have been playing a preview build of this little game called Tchia, and it's basically a game that's open world, set on this island inspired by a place called New Caledonia. It's in the Pacific Ocean, like just northeast of Australia, pretty much. It's where the co-founders of the studio came from, so there's already a lot of passion built into this project. I can
Absolutely.
already tell. Yeah, and I always love it when developers do that. They inject part of their lives into this game, and it's a huge part of their lives too, but it's open world, and to me, it has elements of Breath of the Wild and the Wind Waker, but it's still very much its own game. Wouldn't you agree, Triss, as someone who's a Wind Waker and Breath of the Wild enjoyer?
Absolutely. You could see where like the inspirations from those games and many others came from, but one thing I loved just from the first few minutes of playing is how it immediately gets its own identity. I know we didn't like play from like the very beginning of the game,
Right.
But from where we were thrown in and the amount of things you could do, it immediately got its own identity very quickly.
It's also kind of like Super Mario Odyssey, because you can possess animals and rocks and trees. I don't know about trees, but you can possess rocks, and then you are the rock. It's very wild. It's this ability called Soul Jump, which we'll get to later, because right now basically setting up this game. You play as a girl named Tchia on this island. Her father's been kidnapped, and there's these creatures called Mono, I think that's how you pronounce them, that you basically have to burn with lanterns. The gameplay at first is very, I wouldn't say confusing. For one, being thrown a few hours into a game is a lot different than playing a game from the very beginning. But here, you start out, you meet one of the islanders, and the whole game is spoken in a native language. It's a mix of French and another language which escapes me, but it sounds very French. And you're basically set out to find this crab so you can cook crab. And I don't know about you, Triss, but I immediately just started exploring. I didn't know where the objective was at first, because the map system's also different. It doesn't exactly tell you where you are. Tchia herself kind of tells you where you are, like the broad vicinity, but you don't get like a map icon that often.
Yeah, where exactly you are isn't really easily shown on the map unless you're on the boat.
Yes.
But I eventually did open the map to see where I had to go to get that crab. I'm like, now that I know a little bit about what I'm playing, now I'm going to go get the crab. Because I totally spent time exploring around that village, checking out all the different things you could do with the controls, and learning you could possess objects by first, initially accidentally, possessing a basket of fish and rolling down the hill. I'm like, oh, wait. Oh, this is cool.
Yeah, at first I thought it was just animals, but then I found a clay deposit and I started collecting clay, and then you can turn into the clay and start rolling, which you ironically move faster as the inanimate objects than you do on your 2 feet. Right off the bat, there is a learning curve, at least when you're thrown in the middle of the game, right? But once you get the hang of that learning curve, it's a very fascinating experience. Albeit it feels a bit directionless, even though it does give you directions, but that's also kind of the beauty of it. You're going around this island, you're finding trinkets, which at first I didn't even know what those trinkets did, but they're used as currency to buy cosmetics. A lot of cosmetics in this game.
A lot of cosmetics.
Maybe a little too many. Because most of the time when you find a treasure chest or you find a secret, and there's a lot of Breath of the Wild type of secrets where you explore and then, oh, there's a chest, oh, there's something else. But half the time they reward you with cosmetics. More than half the time, I would say. And I feel like doesn't feel as rewarding.
I think that might be the consequence of it being a demo like this.
Yeah,
personally,
true.
I think of it being like a demo preview builds like this. I imagine, what if I was at like PAX East or something, for example, and I went up to a booth to play it. I guess in that case, the idea of getting so many cosmetics there when I want to learn more about the game, that doesn't really add much. But I do feel like if this was when the game came out, we had our whole full save files, we were playing, getting to customize our character however we wanted to, I think we'd feel a lot more towards the cosmetics in that setting.
That's true, yeah. And then you can find stamina fruit, which is great. It's better than the way Breath of the Wild handles stamina, right? Where you gotta beat 4 shrines, right? But here, it's like you find a stamina fruit, and your stamina goes up 1. just 1 point, but that's okay, because you'll find a lot of stamina fruit.
I love how you find the stamina fruit and she just excitedly picks it up and starts like chowing down on it too.
I'd like to think that if she's a real person, she'd be like, please stop feeding me the stamina fruit. I'm too full. There's a lot of food in this game too, and that's also what I love about like the personal touch this game adds, because food, it's a beautiful thing. It tells you everything you need to know about someone's culture, and it's such a beautiful thing. There's a part in the game's story where you're creating, I think they look kind of like egg rolls, but they're also, I don't know what they're called, but there's a lot of foods you can find too. It's all sweet and it's wholesome. I don't exactly know what eating the food does. I think it refills your soul jump ability, which is the possession feature. But either way, every time I see that food, I'm like, I want to eat that. It looks delicious.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it refills like the stamina, refills like the little soul gauge. I think it's to kind of like bolster your stats, heal them up a bit.
Yeah, and you can climb like Breath of the Wild, so that's automatically really cool. Although I think Tchia is a better climber than Link is.
She is. She is a better climber than Link, and I love the touch. After completing that little story event where we had to give the crab, I went in the house, explored a little, and I found myself kind of like climbing the walls inside, seeing what was on, like what they had like higher up on the walls. But the funniest thing that I did was I climbed near the window, and I kind of like hung out the window and like launched myself outside. I'm like, wait, that was awesome.
That is so awesome. You can climb on trees and fling yourself off of the trees. So awesome. This girl can kick my ass. Like, she is so... I don't want to mess with her. Like, my goodness. So awesome there. But speaking of that, there is combat in this game, which I'm not sure how to feel about it so far. There are outposts in this game run by these creatures called, I think it's pronounced Mono, and they're basically paper creatures. They're made of like some sort of cloth, maybe. I'm not quite sure, but you find these outposts, and your objective is to burn them all, son, and get that treasure chest, which has another cosmetic in it. And the way you burn them is you throw oil lanterns at them, and then they explode. Or you can use your slingshot, shoot oil lanterns there next to. Kind of reminds me of like a Far Cry scenario, because there's enemy outposts. Although you don't have any guns, you just have the slingshot, and you have oil lanterns. You throw them, and yeah, this game is not really made enough for combat, as I can tell from this preview build. But there's also you won't be encountering combat too much, at least from what I've played here. So I can kind of forgive it for that. There's a lot of love put into this game, I can tell, especially from the music too, which there's parts where you play a ukulele, which I haven't gotten the hang of very well, but you can also turn them off and just let them autoplay too, so you can read the subtitles as to what they're singing and watch all the scenery. But it's still really cute stuff.
I love the touch of the ukulele. The fact that you get little rhythm gain sections that are optional. You could just set it to auto, or if you go to a camp, you can like play the ukulele yourself. You can just do whatever you want with it. Like it's a complete like freestyle mode with it, and I love when games let you do things like that. I also love, because we mentioned the Zelda-like features, that you can use the ukulele to do like essentially magic songs, like change the time of day just by playing a certain song. That's so cool to me.
There's a lot of creativity there. There's little segments of this game where I don't feel like they serve a huge challenge or like a huge purpose, really. But then there's parts like the tikis, which I don't know if you managed to craft a tiki yet. There's a little table in one of the villages where you can craft a tiki, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. What is this for? I don't understand. And then you come across these doors that have tikis on them, and you have to craft a tiki that looks like that, and then you use it as a key to enter this place. And there are challenges, like there's a stealth section where you're trying to avoid some light that's looking for you, like Eye of Sauron type of stuff. And there's also a mini game where you play the ukulele. And if you beat those challenges, you get another bar added to your soul meter. That way you can possess these creatures for longer. So kind of like a shrine really cool quest sort of deal there. And the rewards are very cool, because I love it. I love possessing animals. That's a part of it. A part of me was annoyed because the boat in this game, the raft, it doesn't follow you everywhere. If you lose it, you have to get it back by going to a dock and then calling it back. So
Yep.
the raft was not super reliable to me. I liked the way it controlled because like you got the 3 different methods of okay, gotta go over here and pull the sail raft to get the speed going, but then I gotta leave the sail and go to the little turning thing so I can turn it. Oh, I need to brake, I need to go to the anchor. It's kind of like Sea of Thieves, you know?
I like how interactive it is actually controlling the boat, because it's not just one button and steer. It makes it part of the believable world that you're in here.
Agreed. Yes, it's very cool. Sometimes you'll just run away from it, and then you'll get so far away from it, it's just not worth it to go back. So what do you do? Well, what do you do to traverse faster? Here's what you do. You find a bird, you possess it, and then you're going 1,000,000 miles an hour. Like, I love this feature. Basically, any animal is possessable. From what I can see, they're mostly just used mainly for traversal, but some animals, like the crab, you can use their claws to, like, attack things. But I do love the most about it is the traversal part of it, because there's a sailcloth too. I call it a sailcloth. I don't know why I called it that, but it's like a glider in Breath of the Wild, but that's not nearly as fast as possessing a pigeon or a seagull. There's also a poop button when you have a seagull, or I don't know why that's there, but it's there, and it's okay that it's there. It's so cool. Yeah, and to me, right now, at least playing that game, it doesn't feel like it has too much of a direction. Like, there is a story, there are main quests, but I feel like a lot of it is just exploring, and I think that's okay.
I mean, you get an open world, a lot of what you want to do is explore. And this game really rewards you for it. So much so that I think it's easy to forget to go back and follow the story.
Yeah, it really is. I'm just too busy flinging myself off of trees. I'm too busy controlling pigeons. I don't know if they're pigeons, but they might as well be because they poop so much. Yeah, it just feels like this island feels like a massive, massive playground, and that's and it's got such great art direction too. That
it does. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a Breath of the Wild clone, really, because it controls very differently too. Because she's a way better climber, you know. But it's also kind of more floaty. You feel weightless, like in this world. But flinging yourself off of trees and just flying around is just fun in and of itself.
Yeah, the movement options in this game, the exploration as a whole, everything really complements itself, all the different systems, and to create this experience, and that's really just the best way to describe it. Like, so far, playing this game, it's just an experience, and it's one that's thoroughly enjoyable.
It really is, yeah. This game, I've seen it multiple times before. I'm pretty sure it was at the Game Awards at one point, but I thought it looked mildly interesting. But after playing it, like, I have my qualms with it a bit, but also playing a preview is a lot different than playing a game from the very beginning. But right now, This is on my watch list. I don't know about you, Tris. I think it is on your watch list too. Totally.
Absolutely. I am now looking forward to the full game. Like you only seen like a trailer or two here or there. Like, oh yeah, that looks neat. I might keep an eye on it when it comes out. Now I'm like actively waiting for this game. Like, this game looks great, plays great, and I want more of it.
Yep, well, it's coming. It's coming soon, early 2023. So it's coming to PC on the Epic Games Store. I think there's a Steam page for it. I don't know if it's coming out directly on Steam, but it's also coming out on PlayStation 5 and PS4.